Yeah, it would not be a slam dunk to your point. Jackie, thank you very much. Jackie Heinrich in Washington on all of that. The impact now and where these negotiations stand, especially in light of this move on the part of the G7 to rally around a global minimum tax of 15%. Mike Rounds, a South Dakota Republican senator, Senate Foreign Relations Committee, much more than that, kind enough to join us today. Senator, good to see you.
Hey, good morning, Neil. Appreciate the opportunity to visit.
What do you make of this G7 move? I guess it's not a shock. It had been teased for a while. In fact, Joe Biden, in negotiations with your Republican counterparts, particularly Shelley Capito of West Virginia, has talked about this as an incentive to rally around that if he took away the hike in corporate taxes that he'd been planning to 28%, 25%, instead keep it at 21% and get support for a minimum tax of 15%. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think you said it very well when you said the devil's in the details. 15% of what, to begin with? This last year, they were indicating that a number of companies didn't pay any income tax. But at the same time, we were in the middle of a pandemic. And the question is what was the profit? Did they make a profit? And 15% of no profit is different than 15% of a huge profit. So are we talking about 15% of a gross? Are we talking about with deductions? And if each of the different countries that they're talking about right now, the G7, even if they agreed, and they have not agreed, this is a non-binding agreement at this point, according to what I've been able to read, we still don't know what that's going to be. 15% of what? So, yeah, the devil's in the details. And most certainly, I've always liked the idea of competition between states and internationally. I think we can compete. If we can do a better job of putting together a tax code that allows us to pay our bills, at the same time to continue to try to build a growing economy like we were able to do with the tax cuts that we incorporated in 2017, lowest unemployment in 50 years, a GDP that was going up as fast as it has in more than a generation. Those were positive things. I think Steve Moore is right when he says any time that we have one of these things where you're coming in with a new tax, most of us don't like the idea of trying to coordinate with other countries around the world just to raise taxes.
You know, to your point, sir, we're learning that this would focus on companies with profit margins of at least 10% and multinational concerns. But, you know, a lot of those companies have very clever accountants who can find a way to make it look like they don't have those kind of profit margins. And I'm just wondering if this will trigger more of that kind of clever accounting behavior. What do you think?
Well, most certainly, it's the largest organizations that seem to be the most adept at actually creating and using the tax code to their advantage. Now, most of the discussion so far has been just on the top 100 corporate entities, the largest of the large. But that always seems to come back down to the little guy. I mean, one way or another, it's the little guy that gets it. The bottom line is somebody's going to pay. And what we've always found in the past is that it's consumers. Consumers always end up paying the bill. So if they're really talking about that, then it's more of a hidden tax on individuals that use those services. And I think citizens of the United States, if there is a minimum tax that is actually incorporated into U.S. tax law, and that's a long way from getting that done. But if that's actually the case, then I think you'll see that consumers will pay the bill. Just like right now, they're paying the bill when it comes to, you talked earlier about beef. And to me, what you're seeing right now with the beef market and so forth, consumers are paying a huge price for beef, whereas the guys that are actually producing the beef, they're barely getting by. And in most cases, they can't even pay for of those inputs.